For Hearth and Home, Poetry for the Folkish by Aidan MacMillan is a collection of pro-white poems written from a folkish pagan perspective. The poems featured in the book fall into four distinct categories, which MacMillan labels historical poems, religious poems, ancestral poems, and affirmations. We will examine each of these categories in turn, but first it behooves us to examine the purpose of poetry, a topic which MacMillan explores in a dedicated chapter at the beginning of the book. MacMillan begins by explaining that poets have composed poetry since the art form was invented at the dawn of mankind's history. He also notes that every single ancient tribe partook in some form of oral storytelling, and that all poets stand on the backs of giants who preceded them. Among his own inspirations, MacMillan lists the likes of Plato, W.B. Yeats, Thomas Carlyle, and J.R.R. Tolkien. Relevant to our own history, MacMillan points out that the Indo-Europeans were avid poets. Poetry is uniquely special to the Aryan household religion, because many of our myths and histories were recorded through poetry. Norse skalds and Celtic bards alike used their craft to transmit histories, myths, moral wisdom, and they were able to recite poetry for hours on end as their people listened to them with rapt anticipation. Kings and clannish chieftains were seldom seen without a household bard among their entourage, for they were responsible for maintaining genealogies and reminding the broader society of the animating stories which binds a people together. As such, poets of antiquity enjoyed legal protections, were honored by kings and men alike, and along with priests, constituted the glue that gave a ruler legitimacy. MacMillan laments the decline of the caliber of poets who inhabit modern society. As he bluntly writes, "Nowadays, in the modern era, poets are homosexual and lame, and no one has the ability to pay attention to folkish bards and storytellers. Poets used to be financially upheld by benefactors from within the state, chiefs, nobles, and kings. A poet used to be able to make or break kings and nations with their words alone. Now, the state cares nothing for poets, and poetry has become quite terrible and has little to do with ancestry or history. Indeed, modern poetry is oftentimes nothing more than the homosexual ramblings of a theater kid who despises his own race. For this reason, I find MacMillan's book to be a breath of fresh air. Unlike the drivel that passes for contemporary modern poetry, MacMillan's work seeks to reignite what made the art form beautiful and central to the lives of our forebears. With that in mind, let us now analyze a sample of his works, beginning with the category of historical poems. MacMillan's historical poems present a plethora of eloquent works. Admittedly, it was difficult to select only one to include in this portion of the video. His works cover a broad range of eras and settings, including everything from the Bronze Age to modern-day America and Europe. Yet one historical poem stuck out to me more than the others, a work titled World at War. The poem reads, 10,000 leagues roaring, we gallant mariners sailed, to lands far from our homelands, to lands where warriors hailed. We slew them on the beaches, and their blood was on the sands. We dropped flaming leeches on their ancient and noble cities. And at last they surrendered, and now live in shame. 10,000 engines roaring, we courageous paratroopers sailed, to lands we once called home, to where noble forefathers hailed. We slew our own ancient brethren, and firebombed their children. We made them freeze in winter, and we let our race splinter. The iron wall was raised, in our great shame. Where was the victory? Millions of Boers, Europeans, Americans, Australians, Canadians, and Rhodesians have suffered since that hollow victory. Indeed, World at War is as poignant as it is tragic. It recounts how the West went to war to slay the heroes that tried to save us from the hellish reality we now find ourselves in. Had the Allied soldiers known what would have happened as a result of the war, not one of them would have raised arms against the Germans. The second category of poems in the book are MacMillan's religious poems. Many of these poems pay homage to his Gaelic ancestry, and these poems are quite beautiful in their own right. However, perhaps because I am from Germanic and Anglo-Saxon ancestry, I was drawn to the poem he titled Thunor more than any other. The poem reads, "Hail to Thunor, terrible thunderer, hammer in hand, shock and wonder, lord of the field, farmer and peasant, son of Woden, face so pleasant. You march to the sound of war, you defend the gates of heaven, you who forever balances the score, slaying serpents is your profession. Hail to Thunor, champion in arms, he who slays the wicked Jotun, so they may never harm dear noble children. Hail Thunor." Thunor, as the Anglo-Saxons called him, is one of the most popular native European gods. It is not difficult to see why. Thunor, or Thor, is a protector god who defends his people from wicked Jotun, or giants, and the evil serpent Jormungandr. He possesses a particularly important place among the Aesir, and folkish pagans honor him by wearing our Mjolnir necklaces. MacMillan's poem beautifully encapsulates the glory of Thunor, and as such, has become my favorite poem from the religious category. Moving on now to the third category of poem, we arrive at the ancestral poems. This chapter of the book focuses heavily on MacMillan's Gaelic heritage, and he writes in eloquent detail about the clans and folk heroes of Ireland and Scotland. While I greatly admire these poems, I did not select them for recitation in this video for the simple reason that I struggle to pronounce Irish words, and I would rather not butcher his art with mispronunciations. For this reason, I have chosen to present a particular ancestral poem that MacMillan titles "The Trees Are the Forest." It reads, "Stand still, listen close, there are voices in the woods. In the mountains there are spirits wandering. Walking vast distances, I go listen to their words. In valleys where magnolia is blossoming, the white oak and Virginia pine, the land I once called mine." I find this poem especially interesting because it combines the theme of being connected with nature with the temperate forests of North America, as indicated by his references to the Virginia pine and magnolia trees. I have grown up in these forests, and that is likely the reason why I found myself drawn to this poem. Furthermore, I believe the brevity of this poem enhances its value. Not every work of poetry needs to be an epic, and in this poem, MacMillan showcases how sometimes less is more. The final category of poem included in the book is called affirmations. Of all the affirmation poems, one titled "Praise the Household" enwraps me the most. It reads, "Praise the household, the abode of the kindred, the gens, the clan, and all the tribal brethren. Praise the household, the resting place of the family. It is the family who deserves all glory. Hail to masterful house father and house mother, and to blessed sons and daughters. Hail to the gens of the great European race. I praise the beauty within your face. I praise the nobility in your veins. Hail to the European household. May it never fade." The household, of course, plays a pivotal role in all Indo-European cultures. The importance of the household cult cannot be overstated, and if anyone wishes to learn more about this topic, I refer you to my video on William Hearn's excellent book, The Indo-European Household, which I will link above at the top of the screen. In conclusion, For Hearth and Home represents a brilliant collection of poetry written from a pro-white perspective. The book seeks to reignite the majesty of poetry in the modern era, and it serves as a counterweight to the degenerate theater kid poetry that pervades our society today. I can highly recommend this book for all folkish heathens, and I am glad to have had the experience of reading it.